Honorable members, we will remedy the bowing next time. Honorable members, before we proceed with today's business, I wish to announce that the vacancies which occurred in the National Assembly due to the resignations of Ms. S.P. Bushielo and Mr. L.D. Twala have been filled by the nomination of Ms. B.J. Maluleke with effect from the 23rd June 2015 and Mr. S.P. Mhlongo with effect from 17 July 2015 respectively. The members have made and subscribed the oath and affirmation in the Speaker's office. The first item on the order paper is a motion in the name of the Chief Whip of the Majority Party. Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I move that the House, notwithstanding Rule 29, which provides for the sequence of proceedings, take notices of motion and motion without notice after order of the day. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections. Agreed to. The next item on the order paper is member statements. Does any member of the ANC wish to make a statement? Go ahead, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The African National Congress commends the unity displayed by the Tripartite Alliance partners at the summit that was recently held. The summit, which was attended by all the national leaders of the alliance representing the African National Congress, COSATU, the South African Communist Party and SANCO, deliberated on matters of mutual interest. Among its resolutions, the summit agreed that the alliance remains a critical force to ensure that the goals of the Freedom Charter, the National Development Plan, and the overall objectives of the National Democratic Revolution are achieved. The summit acknowledged the significant progress made in the past 21 years, but admitted that there was still more to be done. It was also resolved that each alliance partner, having identified the challenges, will work out its specific responsibilities and that these will be reported to the Alliance Political Council. The Alliance endorsed that the resolutions of the summit be taken forward in a series of national, Alliance-led, provincial and regional meetings with organizational structures. The Alliance partners were all united in defending the unity of COSATU, informed by the principle of one union, one industry, one federation, one country. Thank you.
The DA.
Ke a leboga modulasetulo bagaetsho mo Afrika Borwa ke a dumedisa. Go lebeng ga ka mo kgwedi e hitileng e ke itlhile ka ya ko baagisane ba ko Lindelane ko Ekurhuleni mo e leng gore ke baagisane ba ba lebetsweng ke lekoko la African National Congress. Earlier this month I visited the community of Lindelane in Ekurhuleni, a community that has been forgotten by the African National Congress. In 1999, the residents living near the industrial area of Benoni were forcibly moved to Lindelane by the ANC government. 16 years later, the community of now over 5,000 households is still suffering without basic services such as electricity, lighting, water, and sanitation. These are not luxuries, but most basic requirements of a dignified life. It is in fact an insult to those who live in Lindelane that members of the ANC attempt to justify why a swimming pool is necessary for the president's security, while there are thousands of residents of Lindelane who will suffer from unemployment, crime, and the inhumane living conditions. The DA's vision of 2029 works towards building better communities and a country based on the values of freedom, fairness, and opportunity. As members of this House, we have an obligation to fight for the more equitable society. Kajalo bagaetsho, the residents of Lindelane deserve more than the broken promises of a better life for all, which in fact means for some. They deserve a government that can provide access to the rights guaranteed by a constitution and economic opportunities to improve their lives. Ke a leboga.
EFF.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. The economic freedom fighters is disturbed by companies that are subcontracted by Transnet to provide labor services in the container and cast terminal of the Durban Port Terminal, who are engaged in labor activities and practices that are illegal, unconstitutional, unethical, and unjustifiable, and must not be acceptable to Transnet and the whole country. Majority of workers employed by the subcontracted companies such as Tekwini Marine, Capacity, Greystone, DP World, Ulwandle, and others are forced to work for 16 hours per day, only to be paid between 16 Rand and 18 Rand per hour. These companies continue to pay workers salaries ranging from 2,500 to maximum of 4,000 Rand per month, while workers performing the same tasks and duties who are employed directly by Transnet are paid a basic salary in excess of 10,000 Rands per month and work only 8 hours per day. Workers do not have legally binding contracts, but they are called as and when required, and this has been the case for more than 12 months. Furthermore, workers are not protected from occupational injuries, and this was evidenced by workers who was injured at work and were not paid the necessary occupational injuries on duty compensation.
Honorable
The situation
Shivambo,
is particularly
your time
concerning
has
because
expired.
workers have tried to bring these circumstances to
ANC.
TPT and the Durban Port Terminal Management,
Your time has
and
expired.
have not
sir.
been given the necessary attention. We have returned to the Minister of Labour and Public Enterprises to attend to this situation as a matter of urgency.
The ANC applauds the deal reached by Iran and 6 world powers, China, the United States, France, Britain, Russia, and Germany, which stipulates to lift a 13-year sanction embargo on Tehran in exchange for limiting its nuclear program. The agreement is the fruit of 21 months of negotiations. The comprehensive agreement was clinched after more than 2 weeks of tough bargaining in the Austrian capital, Austria. The ANC believes that the deal is a victory of diplomacy and dialogue. South Africa has always spoken out against the language of threats and coercion, including the unilateral sanctions that have been unfairly and justly imposed on Iran. Moreover, the ANC welcomed the lifting of sanctions against Iran and further reiterates its support for Iran's inalienable right to use nuclear energy for peaceful purposes. The ANC is looking forward to the resumption of normal bilateral economic and trade relations with Iran once the sanctions have been lifted, as that will lead to the resumption of trade relations between us and Iran. The historic agreement is testament to success of negotiated and diplomatic solution, to which South Africa has steadfastly and continuously lent its full
Honourable member.
support. I thank you.
Thank you. IFP.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, the atrocity that is the practice of canned lion hunting took center stage recently at the Durban Film Festival when the documentary Blood Lions premiered on the 22nd of July. It is safe to say that this barbaric practice and throwback from the days of colonialism is nothing but an abhorrent relic from an evil past. It's high time that South Africa stands up and says that its wildlife is no longer for sale to the highest international bidder. This practice continues unabated at home in South Africa and in most of our fellow neighboring states as well. International news recently reported on the killing of an icon of Zimbabwean wildlife, Cecil the lion, who was baited, wounded by a hunter's bow, tracked, and then shot dead 40 hours later by an American tourist, Walter Palmer, who allegedly paid 35,000 pounds, which is almost 700,000 rand, for the opportunity and privilege of killing Cecil and then attempting to have his head mounted on a wall at his home in the United States. Canned lion hunting is a disgrace. Why should the very few hunting operators be enriched at the expense of the many who will now never be able to see a Cecil the lion proudly wandering our vast African expanses? We must protect and conserve our wildlife. This is a duty and sacred trust. Our lions are apex predators, the pride of African wildlife. They
Honourable
deserve
Member,
nothing less.
your time has expired.
We salute the Minister of Tourism, who featured in a
NFP.
documentary, Blood Lions. Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, honorable members, the National Freedom Party has taken notice with dismay the recent revelations relating to PRASA. Most notable are the death threats to the chairperson of the PRASA board, Mr. Popo Molefe, and the recent dismissal of PRASA Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Lucky Motana. These death threats and dismissals and the circumstances surrounding them should be a cause of great concern to all South Africans. We need to ask serious questions about the intentions and motives behind these occurrences. The National Freedom Party is of the opinion that these shenanigans are ultimately aimed at gaining control of PRASA's affairs with dire consequences for transparency and accountability in this state and the team. We also find it shocking that PRASA's head of engineering services, Mr. Daniel Timkulu, had been appointed without his qualification being verified. How is it possible that such gross administrative incompetence has no repercussions? The NFP calls for a full inquiry into the appointment process followed by PRASA and for the stringent disciplinary action to be taken against those in the administration who had failed to verify Timkulu's qualifications. We stated boldly that the road which has been exposed in PRASA, its operations and administration, is symptomatic of the incompetence of the ANC's government. I thank you.
ANC.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. The ANC is not surprised by the revelation that the EFF-led SRC at Value University of Technology is soliciting bribes for services rendered in return of tenders. We would therefore like to call upon the council and the management of that institution, as well as the police, to investigate this serious allegation and take appropriate actions against those who are implicated in this act of criminality. Students in that university had claimed that the SRC president and some members of the EFF has solicited bribes from a potential service provider for a value of 300,000 rand. This claim has been confirmed by the local service provider, who has stated that EFF SRC has promised to ensure that he receive a contract related to student accommodation in return of 300,000 rand bribe. Some of the students have also alleged that recordings in which EFF members threaten to the service provider does exist. As a proof that EFF stands for corruption, they have now suspended the SRC secretary at that institution and also suspended those who are opposed to corruption. We wish to remind the EFF that institutions of higher learning are not a platform for looting and corruption. The responsibility of the SRC is to represent students' interests, not selfish and greedy interests of student leaders. We call upon...
Your time has expired, Honourable Member.
Speaker.
ACDP.
Speaker, I rise on a point of order.
Yes, ma'am.
On, under the Rule 70.
Order, please.
Hey, when I shut up, when I'm not talking to you, when I'm Kabe.
Honourable Maxine, you can't do that.
No, but she's telling me that...
No. You mustn't do that because we must deal with that matter. Then you prevent us from doing
but
so.
Speaker, she must shut up as well. Deputy Speaker, I rise on a point of order. Mkwenyana, the one who was reading a member statement, I think he must familiarize himself with the politics of students, because what he is saying here is the propaganda of SASCO in VUT.
Honourable Member, that's not a point of order. You are out of order. ACDP.
On the Deputy Speaker, on a point of order.
What's your point of order, Honourable Member?
You know, in terms of the member statements, the ministers have got the responsibility later on to respond. Here is a person who comes and not make a substantial motion, levels lots of wrong allegations against the EFF, would demand the right to respond and dismiss those lies that the ANC is spreading at VUT. We defeated them 100% there. They go around spreading lies that...
Honourable Chivambo, that's not a point of order. You are politically disagree. That's not a point of order. You are politically disagree. This is not a point of order. If a person wants to make an allegation, it must be a substantial motion. It can't just be a statement. That is what the rules say. Honourable Member, please realize that what you are saying is not a point of order.
I have not finished, Honorable Deputy Speaker. We call upon all students in South Africa not to vote for fly-by-night.
Deputy Speaker.
Fly-by-night.
Hey,
parties
honorable
whose
member,
births are
no, your time has
inspired
expired.
By anger.
Honorable member, your time has
Vengeance.
expired.
Deputy Speaker.
Honorable members, please, man, can you be in order?
Deputy Speaker, the rules say that if a person makes an allegation, it must be through a substantial motion.
Against individuals, against
Mokonyane there
individuals
stood
in the
up,
house.
And then he said lots of allegations against the EFF, a part which is represented here.
Yeah.
Lies, pure lies. And it's
Honorable-
not a substantial motion. Can we clarify him that there's no such a thing? It's just that they wounded SASCO and ANC, which is spreading lies there in VUT.
ANC, I'm going to come to that. ACDP, sorry, yes. Quiet, honorable member.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The ACDP regrets recent shocking intolerance leveled at UCT student Zizipho Pai, and we welcome the response of the Vice Chancellor of the UCT. The following words are Zizipho's. I am pleased to report that the Vice Chancellor of UCT has responded to my letter informing him that I do not accept the SRC's unconstitutional and irregular decision to expel me from the SRC and requesting him to review the SRC's decision and set it aside. The Vice Chancellor states that he has requested the decision and basis for the decision from the SRC and will obtain expert advice. He also states that the university has dismissed the UCT Queer Revolution's complaint against me, re my Facebook post, that we are institutionalizing and normalizing sin. May God have mercy on us. He concludes by saying that he has been appalled by the reaction of many, including members of the university, and in particular to the invasion and vandalization of my office, harassment and intimidatory tactics. I am currently in the process of identifying the members who have conducted themselves criminally and breached the university's student code and SRC's standing rules and orders, and will press charges to ensure my physical safety and protect my rights. ACDP leader Reverend Kenneth Mishwe will be speaking further on this issue at the first available opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. ANC.
The ANC wins out of 10 wards in the recent by-election. The ANC welcomes the results of the recent by-election, which was held on Wednesday, the 22nd July 2015, and contested in the 5 provinces of the Western Cape, Eastern Cape, Limpopo, Northwest, and KwaZulu-Natal. Out of the 10 wards contested, the ANC won 7 out of the 7 wards. It also managed to wrestle a ward from the DA in Madzikama, Vredendal, Western Cape. The results clearly indicate that the people continue to have trust in the ANC and are confident.
Honorable members, please
And they are confident that only the ANC is mostly suitable to lead and work together with them towards prosperous South Africa. The ANC therefore wishes to thank the people of our country and the specific communities for demonstrating faith in the ANC and reaffirming it as a true leader of the society. The ANC calls on local government structures to continue with their commitment of putting people first and accelerating service delivery through the Going to Basic program. The ANC is committed
Honorable
together
member,
with the people
your time has
to build
expired.
better communities. I thank you.
Deputy Speaker?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I wanted to check if it's parliamentary for the Honorable Blade Nzimande to give multiple bad looks to Honorable Floyd Chivambo. Is it parliamentary for him to keep looking at us that we feel intimidated because we've been wondering where has he been in the struggle?
Honorable Ndlozi, it is unparliamentary to abuse the rules of the House as you are doing now.
I thought you could protect me from his looks, Nje. Just his looks, Honorables.
Speaker, we have to face the fact that there is a full-blown jobs crisis in South Africa. The number of people who are unemployed increased by 321,000 from 4.9 million to 5.2 million in the first 6 months of 2015. And that excludes the 2.4 million people who wanted a job but who had given up looking for a job. We cannot sit back and do nothing when 7.6 million people cannot find jobs and live without dignity and independence and freedom in South Africa. We also have to face the fact that we are in this situation largely because of government's disastrous economic policies which are killing investment, killing growth, and killing jobs in South Africa. And that is nowhere better illustrated than ANC Secretary General Gwede Mantashe's statement in response to the jobs crisis, which is to accuse the private sector, you guessed it, of being unpatriotic. That is rich coming from a man who has brought us water shedding, load shedding, and now job shedding. That is why more and more people are now realizing that who do not have jobs, that if they want that you can have jobs or you can have the ANC government, but you cannot have both. That is the truth, and that is why we have a jobs crisis in
Honourable
South
Member,
Africa.
your time has expired. ANC.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The ANC commends the Ekurhuleni municipality for opening two fully fledged modern clinics in the Tswelopele Clinic in Vosloorus and Palm Ridge Clinic near Alberton. These clinics will help alleviate overcrowding and improve primary health care in the East Rand. Within just a week after opening, the new Tswelopele Clinic has treated over 670 patients, while the 1-month-old Palm Ridge Clinic has attended to over 6,000 patients. The ANC is also pleased by the Ekurhuleni municipality's commitment to further construct 8 more clinics to continue enhancing residents' primary health care facilities. These clinics include Motsamai Clinic in Katlehong, Villa Lisa Clinic in Vosloorus, Dugatole Clinic in Germiston, Kumalo Clinic in Katlehong, CSC Clinic in Katlehong again, Crystal Park Clinic in Binoni, Selope Tema in Kwatema, and the Sangweni Clinic in Tembisa. This initiative has confirmed the ANC as an organization that is truly delivering on its electoral mandate and its commitment to introduce a patient-centered approach in the delivery of health services by aggressively reducing the time patients have to wait to receive services and medication. I thank you.
Ahang, SA.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The high rate of unemployment, particularly of young people, is of serious concern. We call on government, trade unions, civil society, private sector to find solution to this monumental problem as soon as possible. This high level of unemployment diminish self-respect of our young people. We must work on restoring our young people's hopes and make sure that they do get employment and become productive. Without them being part of contributing to our economy, this country has no future. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member, ANC.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The ANC would like to condemn in the strongest possible terms the conduct of Cape Town, Mayor and DA leader in the Western Cape, Ms. Patricia de Lille. According to recent media reports, Patricia de Lille is driving a clearly corrupt campaign to put the management of a project to develop public space on the Scannic Clifton coastline in the hands of her close friend and associates. The mayor of Cape Town is apparently going against the advice of officials in the city of Cape Town and the Ratepayers Association of Clifton, who have warned her about the potential conflict of interest that will arise by involving her friends and associates in this project. The people concerned are Dilily's social friends, whom she visits and wines and dinners with on a regular basis during her visit to their palatial homes in the affluent Camps Bay. We say shame on you, Patricia Dilil, and the DA. Once again, you have revealed yourself to be a hypocrite who claims to be fighting against corruption and malpractices in the public sector, while at the same time committing it for the benefit of your friend. I thank you.
DA.
Deputy Speaker, sectors of the mining industry are circling the drain. If government refuses to act, it will have to take responsibility for those sectors disappearing. That will dramatically worsen the lives of millions of South Africans. Still, Gwede Mantashe has the gall to call on mines to review their retrenchment plans. Where was he when the mines warned that government policies would lead to a weaker industry and job losses? Then the ANC said, that is just white monopoly capital talking. Now what has come to pass is exactly what the mining companies predicted, and the ANC is trying to blame the mines because jobs are being lost. There are 3 steps the ANC could take immediately that would restore some confidence to the mining industry. The ANC needs to reassure people they will back away from their ideologically driven, economically suicidal plans. First, agree to the principle of once empowered, always empowered. Withdraw the MPRDA pending a rewrite that will recognize the need for the mines to be financially sustainable within a framework of legislative certainty, and declare an intention not to raise the 26% BEE ownership level. The ANC must start putting the livelihoods of South Africans before its own mad ideological dreams.
ANC.
The ANC welcomes the re-establishment of diplomatic relations between the governments of Cuba and the United States of America through the reopening of embassies in their respective countries. This signals a historic step forward and a great achievement after 54 years of enmity and isolation of the 2 neighboring countries. The ANC, therefore, commends both President Barack Obama and President Raul Castro for taking bold steps in building trust and goodwill between their 2 countries. We view this initiative as an important step towards the total normalization of relations between the US and Cuba. We trust that these developments will culminate in the removal of economic blockade, which took its toll on the quality of life of the Cuban citizens, so that Cuba can pursue its own chosen path of developing its economy without interference from any country. The ANC commends the commitment of its government and the progressive peoples of the world for standing in solidarity with the people of Cuba and the successful call and campaign for the release of the Cuban 5. Furthermore, the ANC once again appeals to its government and the progressive people of the world to go on extra mile in solidarity with the Cuban people in calling for the US Congress to demonstrate commitment to the normalization of relationships between these 2 countries by ensuring that this important historic step decisively leads to the total lifting of the USA economic embargo of Cuba that has throttled the
Your
Cuban
time has
economy
expired,
for many
Honourable
decades.
Member.
I thank you.
Honourable members, that concludes member statements. Let's hear ministerial responses. Honourable Nzimande. Honourable Mulewa.
Deputy
Honourable
Speaker.
Quinty. Go ahead.
Deputy Speaker, I rise to strongly agree with Honorable Bongo that institutions of higher education, just like the rest of society, must be no-go areas for tenderpreneurs. Some of the steps that we are taking to try and curb this kind of a problem is, for instance, to ban students and SRCs from sitting in tender committees in our higher education institutions. And also to ensure that monies that are in the hands of student representative councils are indeed used in the manner in which they are supposed to be. As Minister, I am very concerned about this allegation of the EFF involving the EFF led SRC at the Valley University of Technology. And I wish to say that I, on my side, will also make sure that the university goes to the bottom to actually investigate this matter. Thank you very much.
Honorable Mlewa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I rise to respond to the issue raised by Honorable Member in relation to canned lion hunting from the IFP. Let me start by indicating that Section 24 of our Constitution, subsection B, Roman numeral 3, refers to the need for South Africa to secure ecological sustainable development and use of our natural resources while promoting justifiable economic and social development. Having said that, I want to also indicate that South Africa has, for a long time, over many years, developed a very good track record on conservation. We are among the best in the world. It is for that reason that in the wild, we today have around 3,000 lions in the wild. That's African lions. And those lions that are kept in bred in captivity are around 6,000. There is a policy in South Africa, there's a law actually, National Environment Management Biodiversity Act, that is followed by the TOPS regulations, Threatened and Protected Species Regulations, regulation number 26, I've said it here before in this house, that it actually prohibits any form of hunting that's cruel, and we are on record saying that no tranquilization, the list of those things that are not to be done are listed in there. And nobody has to actually practice hunting in that manner. I've been on record, as I am today, that anybody in South Africa who's aware of anybody who's hunting under this condition must actually refer that person to us, will be on that person. We are amending the regulations to allow time period of between release and breeding not to be short as it is right now.
Time has expired.
Thank you.
Honorable Quinty.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, I just want to correct the honorable member from the DA who spoke about on employment. You know, because the quarterly labor force survey of June 2015 has the following figures. Total employment of 15.7 million is 197,000 higher than 2015 quarter one. And that is 1.3% increase. And 563,000 higher than a year ago, which is 3.7%. And secondly, the unemployment rate dropped to 25.0% in 2015 quarter two, from 26.4% in the previous quarter. Thirdly, the number of unemployed workers fell by 305,000 from the last quarter to 5.2 million. This, therefore, it says, these are the facts. The honorable member was misleading South Africa. Things are very tough. We understand. We acknowledge this. Things are very tough in our economy. In the global context, it is not unique to South Africa. Therefore, we must, as South Africans, when we talk about these facts, before we throw in politics like the honorable member is doing, we must say, what are the facts? So that South African can understand the truth behind the tough times we're going through as a country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Oliphant.
Ngiyabonga Sekela Somlomo. Sekela Somlomo ngiyafisa ukusho ukuthi kumhlonishwa uShibambo ngizoyilindela incwadi evela kuwe mhlonishwa. But into bekufanele ngabe uyenzile ngabe ululeke abasebenzi ngokomthetho we-Labor Relations Act nangako Employment Equity Act ukuthi sine institution CCMA bekufanele immediately bathathe ikhalazo zabo ikakhulukazi uma kuza ekuthenini bakhokhelwa ngaphansi kwabanye abasebenzi kodwa bebenza umsebenzi ofanayo. Mhlawumbe ke kufanele ukuthi ke sibe nethuba sithathane through ukuthi ama-amendments abavuna kanjani abasebenzi. But ke while ngisalinda incwadi ngocela ukuthi nje batshela abasebenzi ukuthi abaphuthume kwi-CCMA ukuze icase yabo ithathelwe phezulu. Ngiyabonga Somlomo.
Thank you very much. Are there any further ministerial, Honorable Mwakora Matori?
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Well, we should not celebrate job losses in our economy. These losses are occasioned by the global environment, particularly when it comes to mining, where you have had the collapse of mineral prices across the globe. So it is not only here, it is happening across the globe. And we are urging the mining houses that as they consider steps to retrench workers, they must follow Section 52 of the Mineral Resources Act. Because it is important in the sense that that section allows for consultation and inclusive involvement of all the stakeholders. So we are definitely appealing that that section be the route that is followed as the retrenchment route is being chosen. Secondly, we are in dialogue with our stakeholders. There are no bridges that are broken. So I will continue together with my department to engage all the stakeholders in our industry with the view of seeing what is it that each one of us can bring to the table in order to mitigate the harsh economic conditions prevailing that we are faced with currently. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Any final ministerial response? There's one left. If there's none, we proceed. That concludes ministerial responses. The Secretary will read the first order of the day.
Consideration of first report of Rules Committee of National Assembly 2015.
Honorable Mdagani.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Ministers, Deputy Ministers, and Honorable Members. My intention was to talk on the report, but I'm advised that I must read the report as it is for Hansard purposes. If I take some of your time, Honorable Members, you'll bear with me. The Rules Committee of the National Assembly, having considered the proposals of the amendment of the Rules of the National Assembly, recommends the following amendment to the rules. Section 1 is definition. Definitions: parliamentary protection services mean any employee authorized by Parliament to perform security and protection services within the precinct of Parliament, and includes all parliamentary staff members employed, appointed, assigned, delegated, and contracted by Parliament to perform security and protection function within the precinct of Parliament. And the rule that we are amending is Rule 53A. removal of member from the chamber. If a member refuses to leave the chamber when ordered to do so by the presiding officer in terms of Rule 51, the presiding officer must instruct the sergeant at arms to remove the member from the chamber and the precinct of the parliament forthwith. 2(2), if the sergeant at arms is unable in person to effect the removal of a member, the presiding officer may call upon the Parliamentary Protection Services to assist in the removing of a member from the chamber and the precinct of parliament. (3), a member who's removed from the chamber in terms of sub-rule 2 is thereby immediately automatically suspended for a period applicable as provided for in Rule 54 and may not enter the precinct for the duration of the suspension. (4), if a member resists attempts to remove from the chamber is in terms of sub-rule 1 or 2, the sergeant at arms and the Parliamentary Protection Services may use such force as may be reasonably necessary to overcome any resistance. (5), no member may in any manner whatsoever physically intervene in, prevent, obstruct, or hinder the removal of a member from the chamber in terms of these rules. (6), any member or members who contravene sub-rule 5 may, on instruction of the presiding officer, also be summarily removed from the chamber and the precinct of parliament forthwith. (7), if proceedings are suspended for the purposes of removing a member or members, all other members must remain seated or resume their seats unless otherwise directed by the presiding officer. (8), when entering the chamber on instruction of the presiding officers, A, members of the Parliamentary Protection Services may not be armed, and B, members of the security services may not be armed except in extraordinary circumstances in terms of the security policy. The security policy of Parliament is existing, is there, it was accepted by Parliament in terms of that policy. (9), members who have removed from the chamber will be escorted off the precinct by Parliamentary Protection Service personnel and will not be allowed to enter the house or precinct of Parliament as the rule prescribed. (10), if a member offers resistance to being removed from the precinct, members of the security services may be called upon to assist with such removal. 11, in the event of violence or reasonable prospect of violence or serious disruption ensuing in the chamber as a result of a member resisting removal, the presiding officer may suspend proceedings and members of the security service may be called upon by the presiding officer to assist the removal of the members or member from the chamber and the precinct of parliament forthwith in terms of section 4(1) of the Powers, Privileges and Immunity of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act number 4 of 2004, or may intervene directly anywhere in the precinct in terms of section 4(2) of the Act when there is immediate danger to life or safety of any person or damage to any property. 12, whenever a member is physically removed from the chamber in terms of this rule, the circumstances of such removal must be referred by the Speaker within 24 hours to a multi-party committee for consideration. 13, the House may approve standard operating procedures recommended by the Rules Committee for the exercise of these functions, in particular in relation to the use of parliamentary protection services and members of the security services for this purpose. Standard operating procedures, member refusing to leave the chamber. 1, if a member refuses to leave the chamber, the presiding officer asks The Sergeant at Arms to remove the member from the chamber. The Sergeant at Arms sub 2. The Sergeant at Arms approaches the member to explain in a respectful manner that the instruction of the presiding officer must be complied with, and that failure to do so can constitute a grave offense and have serious implications, including that the member may need to be physically removed from the chamber. Sub 3, if a member still refuses to leave, the Sergeant at Arms indicate to the presiding officer that the member refuses to comply, whereupon the presiding officer informs the House that the Parliamentary Protection Services are to be called upon to assist. Sub 4, the Parliamentary Protection Services personnel enter the chamber upon the instruction of the presiding officer and proceed to remove the member or members concerned under the direction of the Sergeant at Arms. The last one, members of the public in a gallery who participate in a disorderly conduct will be removed by the security services. We submit, Honorable Deputy Speaker, that this House should consider the report and approve it if it feels necessary. Thank you very much.
I now recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I move that the report be adopted. Thank you.
Honorable members, attention has been brought to me about a technical amendment that was supposed to be made here. And this is what the table is referring to. They had it in their records. Okay. Honorable Deputy Chief Whip, do you have that now?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I move that the report be adopted with the following amendment. That the word person in the definition of parliamentary protection services be deleted and replaced with the word employee. I so move.
Okay. And now put the question as indicated. Are there any objections to the report being adopted? Okay. There being objections, I now put the question. Those in favor will say aye. And those no. Thank you. The ayes have it.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, we want to make a declaration.
Okay.
And then later on, we're going to divide the House.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead, Nat.
Yeah, we'll come there.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. We stand here as the EFF to reject with contempt the proposed removal of members of parliament physically for something that they say with their mouths. We do not have a problem if those who are physically threatening the security of other members of parliament or of the facilities here, if they are doing so, they can be removed physically. But for something that you say with your mouth, you can't remove an elected member of parliament physically. So that is the nonsensical approach that is being asked for us to adopt in this particular parliament. We can never agree to that. Also, we think that Rule 54, as it currently stands, is unconstitutional. We told the Speaker through our lawyers when she tried to suspend us through a procedure that it can never be constitutional to suspend any member through a declaration, through an arbitrary process without having gone through a process. There is no law that will ever agree in South Africa for an automatic suspension, whatever amount or whatever extent of crime that you have committed. Cyril Ramaphosa, Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, ex-Minister of Police Natim Tweta, are currently facing charges of murder and conspiracy to commit murder for killing workers in Marikana, but are sitting with us here. How on earth can we as Parliament pass a legislation that says that we must automatically suspend Parliament for 5, 10, or even 20 days? What kind of constitutional democracy are we embracing if we're just going to do that? A sitting president here of the country is facing 700 charges of theft of public money. He's facing charges of unduly benefiting in Nkandla to enrich himself, but he is still a president of this country. How on earth do we come here and say that we must approve legislation or some guidelines that say that a speaker, out of just saying that you are suspended, can be suspended for 10 days, depriving us of our right to come and speak on behalf of the deprived people of South Africa? Let us be reasonable. Let us be sensible. Let us respect the Constitution. Let us reject the proposals that have been given here by the Sanko person who came here to speak. We need to take ourselves seriously. But I want to make this Parliament aware that even before this was agreed upon, already Parliament is training 25 members of the SAPS. Those who came here to remove members of the EFF and assault them physically. Already HR has been instructed to employ them. Against all odds, against the advice of the security services here in Parliament, both the chair and the deputy chair of the security services in Parliament are not agreeing with this nonsense, but it's being implemented through a Dion van der Spoor without following proper procedure. We must reject the proposal as being put here by the Rules Committee. Thank you very much.
Next declaration. DA. Oh, the honorable members. Honorable members.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, the foundation for today's discussion and debate in the House on these rules has to begin where it started, and that's with the Constitution. Section 57(1) of the Constitution says that the National Assembly may determine and control its internal arrangements, proceeding and procedures, and B, make rules and orders concerning its business with due regard to representative and participatory democracy, accountability, transparency, and public involvement. This right of Parliament was upheld in the Constitutional Court judgment of Doctors for Life versus Speaker of the National Assembly and others, in which the courts recognized the fact that Parliament has an important and very special role to play in our constitutional democracy. It said in the Doctors for Life case that it is a principal legislative organ of the state. With due regard to that role, it must be free to carry out its functions without interference. To this extent, it has the power to determine and control its internal arrangements and proceedings. That's where we begin today. Rules are transient. The Fifth Parliament is very different to the First and Second Parliament, and even the Third Parliament. And that is why we have the flexibility of Parliament to change the rules as and when situations arise. This is vested in the Rules Committee, and then obviously this House has the ability to change that. We cannot have a situation where certain members of the House exercise their freedom of speech to the extent that it infringes on other members of the House freedom of speech and their ability to perform the function which the millions of South Africans at home sent us here to perform. This House cannot function if it simply becomes a chamber where the party who shouts the loudest and drowns out others prevails at the end of the day. That was never the intention that the framing founders of the Constitution envisaged this Parliament to be. They wanted it to be a clash of ideas, and they wanted to be a place where we could have an exchange of ideas. If it simply becomes who outshouts the others the loudest, it is a race to the bottom, which will never see the jobs, the freedom, the fairness and opportunity which South Africans expect from us to be debated in this House. And it's for that reason that we support these rules. Two very important concessions made, and I want to thank all those who worked in the subcommittee from all parties. First of all, a multi-party oversight committee, which any party in this House can serve to ensure that there's oversight over these services. But more importantly, and the bigger victory, I think, for Parliament, is that the Parliamentary Protection Services cannot consist of members of the Security Service envisaged in Chapter 11 of the Constitution. So never again will members of the security services be here to remove members of this chamber for things that they have said. We will have an independent parliamentary protection service which is accountable to the Speaker and Parliament, and I think that is a good step forward. Thank you.
Honourable Singh.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker, Honourable Members. We as the IFP have no problem in supporting the amendments as proposed in the ATC and the amendment as proposed by the Honourable Deputy Chief Whip, which changed the word of persons to employees. See, Honourable Members, Deputy Speaker, extraordinary circumstances require extraordinary measures. If we as Honourable Members of this Parliament had been following and obeying the rules that we established for ourselves and that we've been following for the last many years, none of these measures that are being proposed today would have been necessary. We are to blame for what has happened, and we are now going to have to face the consequence of these standard procedures that will have to be invoked whenever there is transgression of the rules. Chairperson, and Deputy Speaker, we are also pleased that there is a clear distinction between security services and parliamentary protection services. There was a moment when there was going to be an interim definition of parliamentary protection services to include the security services. I'm glad that all the members of the committee decided that that clause be removed. On the question of bias, this question came up quite a lot in our Rules Committee meeting. And I agree with honourable members of the EFF that when a presiding officer makes a particular ruling, you can get red carded on a soccer field, maybe for not even having committed an offence. But you have to leave the field at that moment in time, and there are procedures to appeal. It has happened even in international football. Therefore, we would welcome the establishment, which Honourable Steenhuisen spoke about, of this multi-party committee sooner rather than later, which will sit with the Speaker and consider Clause 55, expression of regret. Because if a person is suspended, a member is suspended, you can still be reinstated even the next day if you express regret, but I think it should be a joint decision. Honourable Deputy Speaker, in addition, we need to urgently consider all the amendments that have been proposed by the Rules Committee and the Sub-Rules Committee of the rules from Chapter 1 to Chapter 15. There is a process in place, and I think all of us as caucuses and honourable members need to apply our minds. Lastly, Honourable Deputy Speaker, nobody can take away the right of any honourable member to say whatever he or she wants from this podium. The freedom of speech is enshrined in the Constitution. However, it comes with a responsibility. And if there is a ruling from the presiding officer, we have to obey and respect the ruling. Hence, we will support these amendments and the proposed amendment. Thank you.
Honourable Kubisa.
Deputy Speaker, thank you very much. Honourable members, the National Parliament, as the highest legislative body of the land, derives its mandate from the Constitution. Section 57, particularly Section 1A and B, provide that the National Assembly may determine and control its internal arrangements, proceedings and procedures, and B, makes rules and orders concerning its business with due regard to representative and participatory democracy, accountability, transparency and public involvement. The rules of parliament take cue from this section of the Constitution. Debates of the Fifth Parliament have taken the attention of the public for a variety of reasons. And among these, one can count robust and critical discourse, but on the other hand, parliamentary debates are viewed as being disorderly and not dealing with substantive and bread and butter and service delivery matters that affect the people of South Africa on a daily basis. It is sacrosanct that the decorum, integrity, and dignity of the House be upheld and maintained. It is recorded that the NFP expressed displeasure on the concept of security services and they are being summoned to come to the House or evict members of the House. The NFP is also on record as calling for the clarity on certain concepts. For instance, the precincts of Parliament, how far we go with that. We agreed at the Rules Committee that the report that is tabled here today should be followed by the process of looking into all the chapters, 15 chapters of the Rules book. Therefore, on those bases, Speaker, Deputy Speaker, the NFP would support these rules.
Thank you, Honourable Member. On NCDP.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The ACDP will support the proposed amendment of the rules of the National Assembly. We commend the Rules Committee and in particular the subcommittee on a job well done in the face of very real challenges. One of the obstacles to finding agreement was a difference of opinion regarding the use of either SAPS or private security for an interim period of 6 months, while a capable parliamentary protection service is adequately trained. The ACDP has not been in favour of private security services being used, but considering the court ruling and the sensitivities around the use of SAPS, we have agreed to this interim arrangement on the understanding that any procurement services in this regard will be fully open and transparent and considered by a multi-party committee. The credentials and track record of potential private security companies must be above reproach. A member removed from the chamber in terms of the rules is automatically suspended and may not enter the precincts for the duration of the suspension. Now, claims that this is arbitrary are not valid, as the process is clearly spelled out in the rules, and when members choose to contravene the rules, they know exactly what the agreed repercussions will be. Also, very importantly, when a member is physically removed from the chamber, it will be referred by the Speaker within 24 hours to a multi-party committee for consideration. The ACDP is satisfied that the amendments are necessary and have the potential to ensure that disruptions in the House are no longer accommodated. Thank you.
UDM. Thank you, Honourable Member.
Honourable Deputy Speaker and honourable members, recently I said that a race to the bottom is currently underway in our Parliament. I said we engage and deal with our nation's challenges less according to national interests and the need to create a better life for all, but more according to cheap political point scoring and vote maximization at all costs, and mostly according to the primitive doctrine that might is right. Even now, through these amendments, we're entrenching the culture that might is right when we should instead be seeking a political solution to our differences. To solve our political problems, we need to address the conditions that gave rise to them. We are not in favor of rules that are created for specific application, but general application. However, we support these amendments as they seek to restore parliamentary order and decorum. As we do so, we once more caution that using administrative processes to solve political problems is problematic. One of the reasons why we support them is simply because all of us here, without exception, have a constitutional mandate to discharge, and Parliament as an institution has a responsibility to create an environment that is conducive for all of us to perform our jobs. The multi-party forum is indeed an important institution that will serve as an important constraint over the power of the presiding officers. Say support Alendo, but we say we need to seek a political solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honourable Member. Honourable Boy, ANC.
Good afternoon, Deputy Speaker. You see, what is important and what we should be able to have learned in this process is that, as one of the honorable members have already indicated, is about the constitutionalism of the process and how do we sustain the rules. But one of the things that we have come to be able to deal with is how you deal with lies, dishonesty, and misleading of the public. Because one of the things that we have to deal with, the more you shout, you make it difficult for the public to understand what is going on in the house. So when you deal with the issue that how you present the president of the of the country, who get a case, and you narrate a story that says there are 700 charges that he's faced with, that is misleading the public. And it comes from those bases that you want to create chaos in the house so that misleading can continue. And even the NDPP has not been able to come to that. But what we know about what we have put together and the unison that has been shown by different members is that centrally to that option was all of us, our own rights here in the House. There's no member who's better than any other member in the House. We're equal in front of our Constitution, we're even equal to God itself, that there's no way would allow any other member, when he comes into the House, to think he's far better than the other one. It's our responsibility as members. We came here with different party mandates, and we want to be continuously being able to explain to the public that have voted for us that this is what is going to happen. The more you shout at us, the more you howl at us, and the more you mislead the public, distortion gets around with citizens. And that's what is important that we should be able to deal with. And these rules are about that. They're about to make sure that any other member of parliament that makes it very difficult for us to be able to be heard in the House must know that when you are being approached by the Sergeant of Arms, and when you are being approached after you have resisted from the Sergeant of Arms, definitely so, the sacrosanct approach that you have taken about this particular house that will allow the protection guard to come in unarmed. But if you raise your hands against the protection guard, you must know that you won't treat you as a member of parliament. We'll definitely call in the police, because there's no other way. We're going to allow a situation where you are going to, they will come in the house because they've got a constitutional mandate to look at an environment where crimes are being committed. If you are not a member, you'll behave as a member. When the speaker speaks, you listen to the speaker. When the speaker says to you, honorable member, you're misbehaving, can you leave the house? You'll have to listen to that one. But if ever you have decided that you are above all these particular arrangements, you are going to fail the breath of the law. Thank you.
Honorable members, I now put the question again. Are there any objections to the report as amended being adopted? There being an objection, I now put the question. Those in favor will say aye. And those against? I think the ayes have it.
A division.
Okay. A division. A division having been called, the bells will be rung for 5 minutes. Honorable members, please take your seats and settle down. I would like to remind members that they may only vote from their allocated seats. When requested to do so, members must simply indicate their vote by pressing the appropriate button below the yes, no, or abstain signs. If a member inadvertently presses the wrong button, the member may thereafter press the correct button. The last button pressed will be recorded as the member's vote when the voting session is closed by the chair. The question before the House is that the first report of the Rules Committee of the National Assembly 2015 with an amendment to the definition of parliamentary protection services be adopted. Are all members in their allocated seats? Voting will now commence. Those in favor of the report with the amendment should press the yes button. Those against should press the no button. Those wishing to abstain, press the abstain button. Have all members voted? Do press even if it's not flashing. Even if it's not flashing, just keep press. All right. Thank you, honorable members. The voting session is now closed. We will tell you. Honorable members, the result of the division are as follows. The yes, 307, no, 16, abstain, 0. The question is accordingly agreed to. The Secretary will read the second order of the day.
Second reading debate, Merchant Shipping Amendment Bill.
Honorable Makazi. That's not Makazi. Huh? Where is she? Sorry? Sorry? Where? Him? Who?
Chairperson, honorable members, after 20 years of an ANC-led government, we can declare unequivocally that South Africa can have equally rights which are entrenched in the Constitution. It is our wish that we deepen these rights and the access of our people to courts.
Honorable Pat, could you please hold on for a little while? I just want to make sure that we are on the right track.
Yes.
Can you just confirm that? Okay. Honorable member, are you just introducing the staff on behalf of the chairperson? Because there's no debate. There's agreement, apparently, that there's no debate, that there will only be an introduction of this thing. I just want to confirm that you are doing that. Thank you very much. Go proceed.
It is our wish that we deepen these rights and the access of our people to courts, the institutions of state, schools, hospitals, and other public facilities. The ANC will continue to strive to improve the equality of government services for all our people wherever they live. Within the framework of government, policy of Merchant Shipping Amendment Bill and complying with our international obligation, we are also achieving modernization and introducing aspects to this important area which will benefit our people. The bill was published for comments in the Government Gazette, number 36329. Comments were received. The bill was brought to the Portfolio Committee for further engagements. After several engagements, the bill was approved by the Portfolio Committee. The bill seeks to align the Maritime Labour Convention 2006 and Work in Fishing Convention 2007 with the International Labour Organization, a United Nations body aimed to promoting the rights of the seafarers at work, encourage decent employment opportunities, enhance social protection, and strengthen dialogue on work-related issues. This bill and amendments are essentially designed to introduce the concept that seafarers have certain rights and can accrue certain income from fishing of their performance subsequently. This is an important breakthrough because there is an imbalance of power between vessel owners and seafarers. We are also establishing the idea of collecting society which is coming together or ability to come together. This bill will also play a pivotal role in making sure that the 6 pillars of the NDP are realized, which are the mobilization of all South African building of key capabilities, human, physical, and institutional, building a capable and developmental state, active engagement of citizens in their own development, fostering of strong leadership throughout society, expansion of economy, and making growth inclusive. Ngaloko besicela ukuthi nendlo isupport le bill. Ngiyabonga.
Honorable members, I now put the question. Are there any objections to the bill being read a second time?
Honorable Speaker, we don't agree that there must not be a debate. There's laziness creeping into Parliament. We must debate. We are prepared for a debate here. We didn't agree that there must not be a debate. And you are saying there is an agreement. We think there's laziness creeping. So we're just going to declare and go home. And we're done. We're being paid money to work. So we must debate. You pass corporal punishment laws, you go home, that's it.
Yeah, honorable member.
We must debate. We're prepared for a debate. At least we must voice that out that we did not agree and would like a debate of this amendment.
Deputy Speaker.
Yes, honorable member.
Deputy Speaker, Parliament works according to a system. We have committee work. We then have debates in the Chief Whip's Forum, and then the Programming Committee, the discussions like this take place. We can't have this discussion every time it comes to the floor about there was agreement in the Programming Committee, there was agreement in the Chief Whip's Forum. There was no opposition to the program whatsoever. So, I mean, it's not fair now to expect us to have a debate. We have a member who's prepared a declaration, which was my understanding of what the agreement was. But we agreed in the Chief Whip's Forum and programming that there's no debate on this. So I think it's very unfair for us to have a debate if our members aren't prepared.
Deputy Speaker.
Yes, honorable member.
Before you call the principal against me, we disagreed. We even said that the DA is colluding with the ANC to render laziness in Parliament. We must debate. We are here to work. Everybody must come prepared with facts, with debate. Let's debate. Let's debate.
Okay, I've heard you. I've heard you. No, honorable members, I've heard. Yes, honorable Chief Whip.
This is a drama that is unnecessary. A collective decision cannot be overturned by one party. We have agreed, there's no debate on this. And if he wants to debate, he can debate in the committee, not now.
Deputy Speaker,
Yes.
I just want to clarify because I can't allow what the Honourable Ndlozi has said to stand. He certainly did not say that at the Chief Whip's Forum, and he did not say that at programming. He's saying it now in the House. And I would say to you what laziness is when you can only get a few of your members into the House when you're voting on important things. That's laziness.
Honorable Speaker, it is lazy that we are being persuaded to come to Parliament and not work, and just only agree about corporal punishment. The EFF is here ready to debate each and every one of you, one by one, that side, one by one. We are ready to debate. We are ready to put the facts and dismiss this bill on a basis of a substantial debate. One by one, we can debate all of you.
Honorable Ndlozi,
We're not afraid.
take your seat. Take your seat. Honorable Mafisa. Kubisa.
Deputy Speaker, there are many issues that were discussed at the Chief Whip's Forum, including the monetary bill, Mandela Day, and other issues, including this one. We unanimously agreed that there will be no debate here, only declarations. Thank you.
Honorable members, let's get the first declaration. We now, sorry? Yeah? Oh, no, honorable member, let's follow my procedural bosses say that we should first put the question and then we'll go into the declarations. I put the question, are there any objections to the bill being read a second time? This is a strange procedure. Absolutely.
Yes, in terms of the rules, you put the question. And then they must stand up and ask.
Are there any objections to the bill being read the second time? Okay. Anybody wishes a declaration? I think we agree with that, yes? Declarations? Go ahead, Ndate.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The Democratic Alliance supports this bill on the basis of the important alignment to current international standards expressed and agreed to in the form of the Maritime Labour Convention 2006 and the Work in Fishing Convention 2007. These international legal measures are incorporated into this amendment bill and are aimed at improving working and living conditions for seafarers. This, in the opinion of the DA, succeeds in meeting the needs of the industry. However, we need to place on record the following concerns. The sanction or penalty for contravening a particular condition is still not clear. Further development should also be considered on aspects like agreement between ship's masters and seafarer on behalf of employers, total banning of children on merchant ships, extension of the compulsory monthly account to include all benefits. Entitlements should include an option for independent facilitation of complaint procedures and agents. ILO Director General Guy Ryder described this process of securing benefits to the most globalized of the world's workers, namely seafarers, as an inspiring example for all economic sectors. However, our efforts in this regard in South Africa is a rather shameful economic example. Each year, we still rely on about 12,000 foreign vessels to carry 96% of our exports in the rest of the world. Globally, South Africa is still regarded as a country with a ship register which is seen as uncompetitive, a perception that has resulted in not a single merchant vessel being listed locally. The DA recognizes this huge opportunity for job creation will incentivize the industry and get our flag amongst the best in the world. I thank you.
Honourable Member.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. The Merchant Shipping Amendment Bill seeking to amend the Merchant Shipping Act of 1951 is a belated yet welcome intervention to regulate labor conditions of those working in the maritime industry. This amendment bill gives effect to the Maritime Labour Convention of 2006 and the Work in the Fishing Convention of 2007. Both conventions were adopted by the United Nations International Labour Organization, and South Africa is a member of both. Central to the Maritime Labour Convention is a desire to better protect abandoned seafarers and provide financial security for compensation to seafarers and their families in cases of the seafarer's death or long-term disability. These international legal measures are aimed at improving working and living conditions of seafarers, the most globalized of the world's workers. As it is, 90% of the world trade is conducted through the oceans, and South Africa is better placed geographically to benefit from rising trade between BRICS members and increased trade into the rest of Africa. Without South Africa, merchant shipping industry, we will never realize the potential. About 98% of this country's internationally bound trade is carried by ships, and at least 160 billion a year is paid for shipping services to foreign owners and operators. The Maritime Labour Convention places a lot of emphasis on fair labor practices in the maritime industry. We have seen reports of how these international merchant shipping companies mistreat their workers. The most recent being case of Taiwanese merchant ship caught treating their workers like slaves in South African shore. This bill will not be of any use if it does not specify a basic minimum wage of at least 8,500 for seafarers and dock workers within the borders of this country. We cannot be celebrating our integration into the world's economy by adopting some of the most heinous labor practices from our trading partners. This bill fails to address most of these issues. For that reason, we object the bill. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Tengwa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. This bill is an essential amendment which seeks through its amendments to align the Principal Act 1951 piece of legislation with the values and the provisions of our Constitution. It further aligns our domestic legislation with current international convention, which in turn provides us with the comfort and knowledge that our sailors have global protection of their rights. The working and living conditions that our sailors are subject to at times is beyond belief. Through this bill, we'll ensure decent living and working conditions for them, and will most importantly ensure that children under the age of 16 years are not employed on merchant ships. We agree that the bill is a great step forward in improving the operations and the image of the maritime industry, both domestically and internationally, and accordingly, the IFP will support this bill. We do also want to place on record that the sanctions and penalties provisions will need to be further looked at to ensure that there's greater clarity on this matter, and that the areas of ambiguity which we find ourselves charting in at this point in time are clarified. But the IFP, having said that, will be supporting this bill. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Member, NFP.
Honorable Deputy Speaker and members of this Honorable House, the National Freedom Party welcomes the Merchant Shipping Amendment Bill, which seeks to amend the Merchant Shipping Act of 1951. As a participant in the deliberations during the drafting of both the Maritime Labour Convention and the Work in Fishing Convention, it is incumbent on this legislature to enact domestic laws which will give effect to the essence of these two conventions. The National Freedom Party believes that by aligning domestic legislation to global instruments, global protection to the rights of seafarers, and decent working and living conditions are ensured. More importantly, adopting the bill will enable South Africa to intervene in cases where foreign ships enter South African ports if they have contravened the rights of seafarers. The amended legislation contained in the bill is also of particular importance for South Africa, with the current focus on Operation Pakisa. Sustainable development of our oceanic resources entails more than the management of biological and mineral components. It also has to take the working environment of those who are involved into consideration. In particular, the National Freedom Party welcomed the legal prohibition on employing children under the age of 16 from being employed on merchant ships, the introduction of entitlement of seafarers' leave, regulated working hours, social benefit, and facilitation of complaint procedures on ships. We also welcome the explicit requirement of fishing vessel owners and skippers to ensure that basic conditions of employment rights are extended to workers on fishing vessels. These provisions are congruent with existing national labor legislation and align the Merchant Shipping Act with the constitution of our beloved country. Finally, we believe that by adopting this bill, the operations and image of South Africa's emerging maritime industry will improve, which is vital in international trade. In conclusion, Honourable Deputy Speaker, the National Freedom Party supports the Merchant Shipping Amendment Bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further declarations? ANC.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. As the African National Congress, we would want to applaud the department for having thought through that it is important that we have a legislation of this nature which will be able to regulate the seafarers, the skippers, and the ships that will be at sea, especially those who will be carrying the flag of the Republic. We also want to indicate that in line with the National Development Plan, this bill will be able to assist in making sure that the national conventions are upheld, particularly those of training of the seafarers, those of skilling the seafarers, because this will be able to add on to the human resource development capital of the Republic. Let's indicate as the African National Congress that, having said this, it is important that in the end we will see our country being able to have manufacturing companies that will be able to manufacture ships, maintenance companies that will maintain the ships at our shores. We are delighted that actually even issues of labor, the merchant shipping bill is taking care of the labor issues that children below the age of 16 will not be seen at sea, but those that will be seen at sea below the age of 16 will be the ones that will be training in this ship. We want to applaud the department. We're saying that this is a step in the right direction, that we're able to comply with the international standards. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, declarations having been done, I now put the question again. Are there any objections to the bill being read a second time? No objections, agreed to. The Secretary will read the bill a second time.
Merchant Shipping Amendment Bill.
The bill will be sent to the National Council of Provinces for concurrence. We now come to notices of motion. In line with the motion moved by the Chief Whip of the Majority Party, we now come to, as I say, notices of motion. Does any member wish to give notice of a motion? Yes, Honourable Member.
Deputy Speaker, I hereby give notice on behalf of the ANC that at its next sitting of the House, discuss the mechanism to stop the use of violence by taxi industry to enforce their grievances and a resolution of dispute in their favor. So move.
Thank you very much. Next. Yes, Honourable Member.
Thanks, Deputy Chair. I hereby, on behalf of Democratic Alliance, that on its next sitting, the House debate the lack of consultation and the effective public participation in implementing prepaid being imposed on our people. I thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Member.
I rise on behalf of the EFF that in its next sitting, the House debates the collusion between the land valuers and the land owners that inflate prices to sabotage the land redistribution efforts. I so move.
Thank you. Honourable Kubisa.
Thank you, Speaker. On the next sitting day of this House, I shall rise on behalf of the National Freedom Party, move that this House deliberates on the need to empower our youth with skills as a way of reducing escalating levels of unemployment in our country. Some of.
Thank you. Honorable Singh.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, notwithstanding the response by the Honorable Minister of Environmental Affairs, on behalf of the IFP, I shall move at the next sitting of this House that the House debates a continued abhorrent practice of canned lion hunting in South Africa, the limited scope of its benefits to the economy, the regulations and legislation necessary to bring an end to this throwback from colonialism, and the steps we can and should be taking going forward to protect wildlife in South Africa for our future generations. I so move.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Member, right at the back there.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I move on behalf of the African National Congress that in the next sitting, the House discuss the strengthening of the legislation geared at prosecuting bogus initiation schools and kidnappers of young boys for initiation. I thank you.
All right. Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. I move on behalf of the EFF that...
Go ahead, go ahead. You've taken over your fellow members' chance.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I move on behalf of the EFF that this House in its next sitting discusses that clinics be open for 24 hours, 7 days a week, to offer comprehensive, quality, and equitable primary health care.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I hereby move, I give notice that I move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance at the earliest opportunity that this House notes that the Minister of Transport, in a written response to a written parliamentary question by the Democratic Alliance, stated that the locomotive trains which have been purchased did not differ in any form from the required dimensions from the required sale. Notes further that the relevant documents predating the replies show that the dimensions of the trains are in fact not in the required scale. Notes the Minister must have been aware of the difference in scale before furnishing Parliament with the written reply. Resolves to refer the Minister to the Powers and Privileges Committee to investigate the Minister on the charge of deliberately misleading Parliament and report back to this House. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Member at the back there. At the back there, Honorable Member at the back.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Yeah.
I hereby give notice on behalf of the African National Congress that in its next sitting, the House discussed ways to speedily address the emergency using by tribalism in seeking to resolve the dispute in the demarcation of municipality boundaries. So much. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Member. Honorable Member, you're now sitting and not wanting to rise. On your feet, please.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I rise on behalf of the EFF that in its next sitting, the House debates the golden handshakes paid to disgraced and corrupt parastatal executives.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, Honorable Member? No, that's not the case. Yes, Honorable Member?
Thank you,
On your
Deputy
feet,
Speaker.
sir.
I
Why
here
do you
move
doubt?
on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debates the escalating public concern about shameful slaughter of African wildlife and the serious ethical problems in the hunting industry, which has led to an increase in illegal and cane hunting. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Member at the back. Come to you.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, the House debates a massive financial turnaround of arms manufacturer Nel, following government's partial privatization of it in 2002, and how a similar model can and must urgently be considered for ESCOM. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I rise on behalf of the EFF that in the next sitting, the House debates councillors who take bribes inclusive of money and sexual favors for access to jobs and RDP houses from women. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I rise on behalf of the EFF that in its next sitting, the House debates exorbitant price of textbooks, particularly for academic purpose, as a fundamentally and anti-intellectual tax regime. I so move.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Hill.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I hereby move that this House debates at its next sitting the arrest of Mr. Andile Lili, who is a member of the Provincial Executive Committee of the ANC in the Western Cape, for his comments that people should, and I quote, kill rapists and robbers in our community, and I quote, in a brutal manner, and I quote again, once these poor people find someone committing a crime, they must kill that person immediately, unquote. The House should further debate the basic respect by said ANC member for the right to life and for the violation of the freedom of expression enshrined in the Constitution by using that freedom to incite hate and violence. I so move.
Yes, honourable member.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I move on behalf of the Inkatha Freedom Party that in this House, the House debates the need to overhaul and revamp South Africa's education system so that it becomes globally competitive and responds to the collective needs of the job market through the provision of quality education and construction of the necessary infrastructure. I so move.
Thank you, honourable member. Yes, honourable member.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I rise on behalf of the EFF that in its next sitting, the House debates the impact of music piracy on the ability of artists, in particular, emerging young black artists to earn a sustainable living. I so move.
Thank you, honourable member. Any other? Yes, honourable member.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I move on behalf of the ANC that in its next sitting, the House debates creation of 6 million jobs by 2019 through the new expanded public works program. I so move.
Thank you. Honourable members, we now move to motions without notice. Are there any motions without notice? Yes, honourable member.
On behalf of the Chief Whip of the Majority Party, I move without notice that the House knows that on the 14th of July 2015, the Ambassador of France to South Africa, Elizabeth Babia, bestowed upon Ahmed Katrada the Medal of Knight of the Legion of Honor during the celebrations at the French residence in Pretoria. Further notes that the French Legion of Honor celebrates the accomplishment of distinguished individuals, irrespective of sex, social background, and nationality. Acknowledges that Katrada's honor was as a result of his lifelong struggle for justice and freedom, which commands respect and admiration. Recognizes that the National Order of the Legion of Honor was established in 1802 and is the highest decoration in France, divided into 5 degrees of increasing distinction. Further recognizing that Katrada joins a few other prominent South Africans to have received this award, including Nelson Mandela, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Miriam Makeba, and the late Nadine Godima, and congratulate Mr. Katrada on receiving this accolade. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections agreed to. Yes, honourable member.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. Are you fine? Or you did not recognize me?
Honourable member, you're on your feet. Do your job now.
Okay.
And you're leaving.
Ratsava corporal punishment. I rise on behalf of the EFF without notice for the House to note the allegations of police protection that the imperialist multinational corporation British American Tobacco, a cigarette company which controls 80% of the tobacco industry in South Africa, has been given by members of the police elite squad, the tactical response team, as private security guard for its private distribution vehicles. That BAT is one of the multinational companies that is involved in tax avoidance and illicit financial flows to erode the South African tax base. Billions of rands through aggressive tax avoidance schemes leave the country because BAT, like many multinationals that are engaged in illicit financial flows, declares taxes through complicated schemes that uses bogus companies in tax havens. that according to the Action Aid, BAT has 142 companies in tax havens whose role is nothing but tax avoidance. In addition, that SARS did an assessment of BAT to an amount of 1.74 billion of unpaid taxes between 2016 and 2010, which BAT is disputing. That this means they are benefiting unduly from the taxpayers' money, that they do everything in their power to weaken through illicit financial flows. Further note that BAT trades in tobacco, which is responsible for many deaths and diseases in society. Research shows that more than 20,000 people die from tobacco-related diseases a year. That resources used to address the health damages caused by tobacco in society far exceed what the industry contributes to the fiscus. That receiving police protection means BAT is literally receiving state sponsorship to go and physically place our people's lives and under health and risk. To call upon IP to conduct an investigation into the protection of BAT by the top police, because this is criminal and an utter disrespect of the constitutional role of the police. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion.
I object, Chairperson.
There be an objection, the motion falls away. NFP.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. The NFP moved without notice that this House notes that in mid-June 2015, I had the misfortune of a vehicle breakdown close to the Grahamstown area where I felt unsafe. Further notes that I made a telephone call to the South African Police Services in Grahamstown to notify them of my predicament. Acknowledges that Colonel Tambani from the Grahamstown Police Station immediately informed the Traffic Department of the Eastern Cape. Traffic Officer Taleni, Sentile, Mekutu, and Midwai came and provided me with assistance and safety whilst I was in a very unsafe place. Also further acknowledges that Colonel Tambani also dispatched Constable Nguni to remain with me for protection until I received assistance. Congratulates the SAPS of Grahamstown and the Eastern Cape Provincial Traffic Department under the leadership of Mr. Peterson, Chief Traffic Officer Peterson, for going beyond the call of duty to assist me and to provide protection, and commends the action of both the SAPS Grahamstown and the Eastern Cape Provincial Traffic Department, which shows that whilst there are challenges and negative publicity, there are officers who serve as a shining example of their commitment and dedication, which is hoped for, and others will follow. I so move. Thank you.
Are there any objections to the motion? There being no objections, agreed to. Honourable Member.
On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby move without notice that this House notes that former South African cricket captain Clive Rice sadly lost his battle with cancer on Tuesday morning. Although cyber knife had worked, a spot on his lung proved a further challenge. Recalls that the cricket legend was at the top of his game at the height of apartheid, limiting his international experience because of sanctions against our teams. Also recalls that Rice played 3 memorable one-day internationals for South Africa following the country's return from sporting isolation against India in 1991. Acknowledges that he played 482 first-class matches, scoring 26,331 runs at an average of 40.95. Also acknowledges that he took 930 wickets at an average of 22.49. Further acknowledges the great loss his passing brings to the cricket fraternity in South Africa and around the world, conveys our sincere condolences to the friends and family of Mr. Clive Rice. May he rest in peace.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. Honourable Maxson.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I rise on behalf of the EFF to move without notice that the House notes that a burglary happened in the office of Party Leader of EFF, Honourable Julius Malema. Notes that on the morning of the 29th July, EFF parliamentary staff arrived and found that the office of the President of EFF office door locks changed and other doors were left open. Further notes private and confidential files containing information of the EFF, some containing the CIC's travel and security information, submissions by whistleblowers within government and state institutions,
relating to matters like Nkandla, Eskom, Prasa, and Marikana are missing. Demands all security agents of the state to keep a reasonable distance from EFF party political issues and not be puppet of the ruling party, because ANC ship is sinking slowly and surely. Further demands that the SAPS, together with Parliament security, investigate, and those who broke into the president's office must be caught and arrested, and those working with them must be exposed, because kunesandla semfene la. Acknowledge that criminal charges have been laid with the subs in Cape Town, and a report was sent to the Speaker's office. Further acknowledge that we remain unshaken and will never be intimidated by disparate elements who are losing political power. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motions. Since there are objections, the motion fall away. Are there any further motions?
Speaker, there's no objection. There's no one who's objected. You can't just object to an investigation, by the way.
Honorable member. Honorable member of the ANC.
Honorable Chair, I move without notice that the House note the distribution of learning content in digital and paperless classroom programs so as to enhance a high quality of teaching and learning in this era of electronic education. So I move. Thank you.
If there are no objections, I put the motion.
EFF objects. That is only in Gauteng.
Matter falls away. Honorable Kubisa.
Honorable House Chairperson, on behalf of the NFP, I move with that notice that this Honorable House notes that well-known and much-loved Maskandi artist Mjengseni Ndidane Gcwensa, who was born in Msinga, died in Dundee on Monday, 27 July 2015, after a long battle with illness. Further notes that he won 9 South African Traditional Music Awards, SATMA Awards, including Best Song of the Year, Best Selling Album, and Best Composer of the Year, and that his work was also recognized by several Amantshontsho Maskandi Awards. Further notes that Gcwensa was a founding member and leader of award-winning Maskandi group, Amakeza Amahle, which was formed in 2004 and whose song, Viva Ngendidane, won the Song of the Year award during the 2013 SATMA Awards. Finally notes that he was known for his humor and love for his family. Wherefore, we call upon this Honorable House to express its sadness at the loss of one of South Africa's legendary artists who helped preserve and promote our national cultural diversity through his music, and to extend his condolences to the bereaved family and loved one of Mjengseni Ndidane Gcwensa in this time of sadness. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motions. No objections agreed to. Honorable Singh.
Honorable Chairperson, I do not object to the content of the motion, but I object on the basis that the IFP on the 27th of July submitted this motion to the table, and there is a note here from the table, which we all receive as whips, indicating where the NFP has got this, previously circulated by the IFP at 13:31 on 27 July 2015. So I think that's a very, very important point and a matter of principle that we need to adopt in this House, that kind of motion should not go through because it was moved by us in good time. And I just like your understanding and ruling on that. I know Honorable Hlengwa is ready to move that exact motion.
Honorable Speaker, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Kubisa.
Yes, I'm not aware of what the Honorable Singh is worried about, because we submitted the motion to the offices yesterday and it was accepted. So it was never rejected. So I think there is a problem somewhere. But if there is a problem, it's not our problem. I haven't looked at the content of his motion as well, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Kubisa. Honorable Kubisa, I will consult with the NA staff and then see how to resolve that matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson,
Can we
but
help you?
Honorable Kubisa, sorry, Honorable Shibambo, can you take your seat? Honorable Kubisa wanted to say something. Yes, Honorable Kubisa?
but Honorable Chairperson, whilst I was still standing up, I heard some nasty, notorious remarks here before you were given a chance to say anything to me.
Thank you very
But I
much,
hope these notorious remarks will come to a halt.
Thank you, Honorable Kubisa. As I indicated, I will
But
consult
Chair,
with
can I
the
wanted to help you.
order, Honorable Shibambo.
As a matter of fact, the IFP is correct. The NFP is just
Honorable
taking advantage
Kubisa.
of a motion that was sent
Honorable
by the
Shibambo.
IFP. So we must take the IFP motion
Honorable
and then move
Shibambo,
on.
I had indicated that I will consult on this matter so that we verify the facts. So there is no need to actually add what we must do. Honorable Singh, are you coming up with a new motion?
Yes, Honorable
Thank you.
Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, thank you. On behalf of the IFP, I move without notice that the House recognizes the great value that people the world over place on the iconic legacy and life examples set by former President Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. 2, notes that former President Mandela's history makes for compelling reading and his quotes and messages are profoundly brimming with wisdom. 3, agrees what better way to honor and celebrate this legacy in entertaining the call by the United Nations for 67 minutes to be dedicated to community upliftment in memory of Nelson Mandela on Mandela Day. Acknowledges in this regard the sterling work by Ms. Mala Lakshmanan, a Tamil scholar and presenter on Lotus FM, who has translated these 67 quotes from Mandela and is sharing them on CD with the Tamil diaspora around the world. Finally, applauds Ms. Lakshmanan and encourages others to emulate her fine example in making the profound wisdom of Madiba accessible to all. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections agreed to. Honorable Mweniso.
I rise on behalf of EFF to move without notice that the House...
Order, honorable members. Order, can we please allow the member to speak? Order, honorable members, is the member's maiden speech, if I'm correct? Okay, let's allow him to be heard.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think our Minister Wamakipkip Bazotul notes that on the 1st of August 2012, 15 days before the Marikana massacre, the ANC government, together with private security firms, killed 8 mine workers in Aquaria Platinum Mine at Kwezi Shaft in Rustenburg. Further notes that these workers were murdered for protesting against the dismissal of 260 people by Murray and Roberts Cementation, which was contracted by Aquaria Mine. Further notes that those mine workers who were dismissed have been abandoned by National Union of Mine Workers, NUM, and have gone everywhere for help and received none. Further notes that these workers have still not been paid their Provident Fund and UIF benefits. Notes that the Murray Roberts and Aquaria Mine, after killing the 8 workers, blacklisted the rest who now cannot
Order,
find
honorable
jobs.
members. I think our noise levels are higher. Can we please allow the speaker to be heard?
Thank you. Further notes that the Murray Roberts and Aquaria Mine, after killing the 8 workers, blacklisted the rest who now cannot find jobs and have to survive on eating from rubbish dumps. Calls on the Minister of Police to establish a high-level investigative team to look into the massacre of these workers by the police and private security guards in order for perpetrators of this massacre to be prosecuted and jailed. Calls on Murray and Roberts, Cementation and Aquaria Mine to immediately pay unfairly dismissed workers their provident funds and other benefits due to them. Calls on the Department of Labor to immediately process and pay UIF benefits to all dismissed workers. I so move and hope that the prisoners of Zuma in the ANC will keep quiet when I
If
talk.
there are no objections, I put the motion. There are objections, the motion falls away. Are there any further motions, Honorable Member of the ANC?
Chairperson, on the behalf of the Chief Whip of the majority, I move without notice that the House notes that the Nive Grasko Trappers, the Khoisan dance group from Sedenberg in Western Cape, flew the South African flag high at the 19th Annual International Performance Arts Championship by clinching 29 gold and silver medals and a trophy at the World Championship in America last month. FERA notes that they competed against performers from 50 countries at the 19th Annual International Performance Artists Champion in Long Beach. It recognizes that the team earned gold medals in ethnic folk dance category, the open dance and tap dance categories, and silver in the open dance category for their spectacular gumboots routine. FERA recognizes that the winning dance moves by the group were derived from the traditional ritual dance by Khois and San, really dancing with modern twist, including tap dancing. Acknowledges the gifted and proudly South African artists take their rightful place to share our culture heritage with their counterparts worldwide. Realizes that the team are South African cultural ambassadors who carry the spirit of the country's indigenous culture forward, and congratulates the Nive Grasko Trappers for flying the South African flag high in the international arena, wishing them the best in their future endeavors. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion.
Chair, we object on the basis that we didn't hear anything. He was just mumbling all the way.
There being objections, the motion fall away. Are there any further motions? Honorable Moniso.
Thanks, Chairperson. I rise without notice on behalf of the EFF for the House to note that during the oversight period last week, the Commander-in-Chief, our President for 2019, visited the home of the late ANC councillor, Mos Phakwe, who was assassinated for exposing the corruption of the ANC government in Rustenburg. Note, the family and children of the late Mos Phakwe narrated to the CIC that they had been abandoned by the friends, the comrades, and the movement of their father, which he had believed in, lived and suffered for, and had died for. Note that the draconian banks had given them an eviction note to leave the home that their father had left them. Further note that the family had brought this painful reality to the attention of their father's comrades and movement. From the President Zuma to the councillors, from Luthuli House to its branches, and no one came to their rescue. From the brutal threat of being thrown to the streets like hobos. In line with its cardinal pillar number 7, which is now the EFF, which reads, open, accountable, and corrupt-free government, where state institutions are not used. That the EFF has donated money in order to save the house and the home of Mos Phakwe, so that his children and generations to come can know that those who die fighting against corruption will find friends way beyond the narrow shores of the ANC. This donation is a celebration and a declaration that the fighting spirit of Mosphakwe must live forever and be emulated by all South Africans. Call on the Department of Arts and Culture to declare Mosphakwe's house, in which he was assassinated in, a national monument against post-apartheid corruption. And let me remind you, Mosphakwe's family is watching on TV. When you are objecting, people of Rustenburg will be watching, so I move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. Objections noted, the motion fall away. Are there any notices without motion? Honorable Member.
Dankie voorsitter. Namens die Demokratiese Alliansie stel ek hiermee sonder kennisgewing voor dat hierdie huis kennis neem dat die bekroonde en alombekende Afrikaanse digter T.T. Kloete gisteroggend in die ouderdom van 91 oorlede is aan natuurlike oorsake. Ook kennis neem dat Kloete Sondag in die Mooimet Hospitaal in sy tuisdorp Potchefstroom opgeneem is nadat hy vir jare aan die Noordwes Universiteit se Potchefstroom kampus verbonde was aan die skool vir tale en skryfkuns. Verder kennis neem dat Kloete 'n massiewe bydrae tot die akademie, prosa, poësie en die wetenskap gelewer het as skrywer, Bybelvertaler, letterkundige en wetenskaplike navorser. Onthou hoe hy tydens sy loopbaan verskeie kere met gesogte toekennings vereer is, onder meer die Ingrid Jonker-prys, W.A. Hofmeyer-prys, Rapportryers-prys, Hertzogprys en die Andrew Murray-prys. Ons dankbaarheid uitspreek vir die magtomwerke en woorde wat Kloete aan Suid-Afrika nalaat, wat vir eeue boekrakke oral in Suid-Afrika sal bly vol staan. Verder ons innige meegevoel en opregte simpatie uitspreek teenoor die kinders, kleinkinders, vriende en kollegas van T.T. Kloete. Mag hy in vrede rus.
If there are no objections,
Ja, ek neem beswaar.
Honorable Law.
I object, Chairperson.
There being objections, the motion fall away. Honorable Singh.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. On behalf of the Inkatha Freedom Party, I move without notice that the House extends its deepest condolences.
Honorable members, can we please respect the member who's speaking?
That the House extends its deepest condolences to the government and people of India on the passing of former President of India, APJ Abdul Kalam, known as the People's President, after he collapsed during a lecture at the IIM in Shillong on Monday, 27 July 2015. Notes that the former President Kalam became the 11th head of the State of India and occupied the post between 2002 and 2007 and was widely celebrated as most popular President of India. Further notes the close ties engendered during his term of office between India and South Africa, the results of which are now a greater diplomatic relationship between these two states, acknowledges that former President Kalam received several prestigious awards, including the Bharat Ratna, India's highest civilian honor, and further acknowledges the immense character of this man who, despite coming from a poor background, managed to achieve a great deal as a scientist, science administrator, and statesman. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. Honorable member at the back there from the UDM.
Thank you, Chair. I move on behalf of the United Democratic Movement that the House notes that on the 22nd July 2015, it was reported that an ex-Paro police officer has been found guilty of fraud after using a state vehicle without authorization. Further notes that according to reports, the constable was on rest that day when she used the state vehicle without the authority or permission from her superiors. Commend the authorities who have played a pivotal role in ensuring that the offender of this crime is brought to book, as fraud and corruption destroys the founding principles of which our democracy was attained. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. Honorable member.
Madam Chair, I rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters to move without notice that the House note that the EFF held a successful and monumental second-year anniversary rally in Rustenburg Olympia Park Stadium on the 25th of July. Note that the EFF continues to grow significantly with the 45,000-seater stadium painted in red to full capacity. Acknowledges tens of thousands of our people who braved the cold from all different parts of the country to celebrate the 26th July economic emancipation movement. The first socialist party in the South African parliament and the 1.1 million voters who trusted the EFF with less than 9 months of its formation, knows the celebration of the mandate based on the 7 non-negotiable cardinal pillars. Further acknowledges all the concerning matters raised to the CIC, the President of Economic Freedom Fighters, President Julius Malema, when he visited communities. Concerns such as lack of water, lack of sanitation, lack of access to housing, and councillors who exchanges EPWP jobs for sex, and we promise our people that the EFF will bring all these matters of word by word before this House. And we are saying here before this House that the current anti-life, anti-black, anti-worker, corrupt and violent ANC government, that in the land of opulence, as it is the case in this country, poverty is a disgrace. We shall keep on reminding you. Shame to you.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. Objections noted, the motion falls away.
On a point of order, Chairperson.
Order, yes, honorable member. What point are you rising on?
Chairperson, when a member is rising to object, the member must rise and say, I object. That member is sitting there and just disrespecting us just like that and objecting. That's very disrespectful.
Thank you, honorable member. If that is the rule, it has to apply to everybody, because I'm sure earlier on other parties too did the same. Can I recognize honorable member?
Chairperson, on the behalf of the Chief Whip of Majority, I move without notice that the House notes that Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu has returned for hospital treatment on Tuesday, 28 July 2015, a week after he left a Cape Town hospital following an intensive antibiotic course for an infection. Acknowledges that his doctors considered prudent for him to return to hospital for observation after he expressed renewed discomfort. Acknowledges that he will have a few days of bed rest while his medical team brings the situation under control and determines the next course of action. Believes that the Archbishop is a strong character and will soon be back in good spirits and rejoining the South African society in his cheerful mood. Calls this for the support of all South Africans and the world to carry him in prayers for his speedy recovery whilst still in hospital. He was in hospital and wishes him good health and speedy recovery. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections agreed to. Honorable Filtane.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I move on behalf of the United Democratic Movement that the House notes that the South African Football Club, Orlando Pirates, Amatambo, has maintained its winning momentum as it beat SC Sfaxien by 1-0 at Stade Tahib Mihiri, Tunisia, on the 26th of July, 2015. Further notes that this win has increased chances for the team to advance to the group stages of the Cup Confederations Cup. Congratulates the coach, the players, technical staff for the outstanding performance that they have demonstrated and for keeping the South African flag flying high. Wishes the team all the best in the upcoming competition, including the curling. Watch Chiefs.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. I've noted that Honorable Filtane, as he read his motion, he had the sign of Orlando Pirates until the end. Honorable Member.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I move on behalf of the National Freedom Party that this House notes that in the past 4 months, a total of 8 athletes have set 14 outdoor national senior athletic records in 12 events, including 7 Olympic disciplines as follows. Lebogang Shange, who holds the record for the 3-kilometer and 20-kilometer walk, respectively. Stephen Mokoka, who holds the record for the 5,000 meters and 10,000 meters run, respectively. L.J. Van Zyl, who holds the record for the 200-meter hurdles. Anaso Jobodwana, who holds the record for the 200-meter sprint. Willem Kwetsen, who holds the record for the decathlon. Wade van Niekerk, who holds the record 300 meters and 400-meter sprint, respectively. And Henrico Brenkies, who holds the record for the 100-meter sprint. Further notes that amongst the athletes, Anaso Jobodwana and Wade van Niekerk have broken the national records for the 200 meters hurdle and 400-meter sprint, respectively, twice in their discipline this year. Acknowledges that Wade van Niekerk became the first African athlete to record a time below 44 seconds in the men's 400 meters at the International Association of Athletics Federation Diamond League meeting in Paris, setting an African record. Further acknowledges that Henrico Brenkies set a new national record in the men's 100 meters in Switzerland by shaving 0.01 seconds off the previous South African record of 9.98 held by Simon Magakwe, and in doing so, became only the 3rd South African to break through the 10-second barrier in the 100-meter sprint. Congratulates the new South African record-holding athletes on their fine performances and wishes all participating athletes success in their preparation and build up to the World Championships in Beijing next month. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion.
That's on a point of order, Chairperson.
Sorry, can we address whether there is an objection to the motion?
Okay.
No objections, the motion is agreed to. Honorable Ngoniso, what is your point of order?
Chairperson, I want to just hear you clearly. Did you say the motion of Mospago was objected to, and I want to see the person who objected to it? No, because no one spoke on Hansard. No one did.
Order,
so that is not
honorable
objected
member.
to. Fuck you too.
Honorable member, honorable members, order. That motion was objected to, and I did say.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I rise on a point of order.
what is your point of order?
It is on record that a member of the EFF stood up and asked that whoever who stood to object should identify him or herself. And that was not done. So we rise to insist that the motion of Comrade Pakwe was not objected, and whoever who does so must identify him or herself.
Order, honorable members. Can I address you? This matter that is being raised is really indeed a new one. There has never been a requirement for any member to identify themselves on objections. Members have always objected, even all of us here in this house, members will just say, object, sit it down, and we've noted those objections.
But Chairperson, we want to know who is objecting to the fact that the EFF is going to save the house of Mos Parkway in the Northwest. Who is objecting? They're not objecting, these people. Let them raise their hands and stand up and say we're objecting to building a house for Mos Parkway's family. Who has done so?
A point of order, Chair. A point of
order. See a person who's objecting to the building of a house for Mos Parkway's family. Who is doing so?
Order, honorable member. Honorable Shibambo, can you please take your seat?
Can you please get a direction?
Can
We
you,
want to see
I
who's
have
objecting.
given a direction.
Please.
I have given a direction, and if members want this matter as a new member for discussion about the rules and the procedures, let them do so in an appropriate place, not in this house. Honorable Minister Zulu.
Honorable Chair, I think we've just finished discussing something very serious about the rules. How is it that other members stand up and speak without being given permission to do so? And when others do that, they make noise. Honorable Shivambo was never given a permission to speak. He stood up, took the microphone and spoke without you giving the permission to do so.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I've noted your point, and indeed, I think all of us as members should be respectful of our procedures and rules. Can I now take further motions without
Point of order,
notice?
Chairperson. Chairperson, I think...
Order, honorable member.
I don't think you
Honorable
should allow
member.
the ANC to be such cowards.
Order, honorable
and
member.
To not say who in the
Honorable
ANC is
member, can you
objecting
please
to saving
wait
Moss Park
and
his
be
house.
addressed? You have asked for a point of order. I've not even given you a point of order. You are already going ahead and making your point. Can you please take your seat? Can you please take your seat? Honorable member, can you please take your seat? Honorable member.
We just want to know.
Honorable member, can you please take your seat?
Yeah, but who's this person who's objecting? Please, we just want to know. The
Honorable
person.
members,
Is
can
that
we please
difficult?
be respectful?
Yeah, is that difficult, Chairperson?
Can you take your seat?
Is that difficult? Am I asking a
Honorable
difficult
member,
question?
there are rules in this house that must be obeyed. I said members can request a point of order. There will be no...
Am I asking
to
a
speak.
difficult question?
Can you please take a
That's
seat?
all I'm asking. Is it difficult? Who is that person?
Honorable members, I think we need to take ourselves and this house seriously. Can I now move?
Point of order, Chairperson. Chairperson, you just said
Order,
now...
honorable member. What point are you rising on?
Chairperson, you just said we need to take ourselves seriously. Now,
What order are you rising on?
Chairperson, now if the coward in the ANC doesn't want to stand up and show who they are, who are objecting to us saving Moss Parkway's house, who is the coward on that side? You said we need to take ourselves seriously, then I think you should start with that side of the house, because they're not taking this seriously. They want
Can
to
you take a
object, but they
seat?
don't want to stand up and show who they are.
Honorable members, I have ruled on this matter, and I think can we proceed? Are there any motions without notice?
Chairperson,
Honorable member.
Can I address you, please? With due respect.
What point are you addressing me on?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Is it that difficult for a member to identify him or herself who's objecting when the EFF is helping on Moss Parkway's house? Can you just get that particular person? With due respect.
Honorable member, can you take your seat? Honorable Pando.
Chairperson, normally when members stand up, which the Honorable Ndlozi had become adept at doing, they indicate which rule they are rising in order to move a point of order on. Which rule prescribes the identification as is being proposed in these spurious points of order?
Thank you, Honorable
Chairperson,
member.
Just before you rule, can we please address the Honorable who just sat down now? I will call
Honorable
Madisha to
Shibambo.
do so on our behalf.
Honorable Shibambo.
Yes.
Can you take your seat?
But, Chair.
Honorable
we are standing
Shibambo.
on a point of order. It's allowed to stand on a point of order here to say, we don't think
Honorable
there was objection
Shibambo.
there. Can we be told who has
Honorable
objected
Shibambo, can
to
I...
our motion? What is difficult about that?
Order, honorable members. Honorable members, Honorable Shibambo, can you take your seat?
But can you please
Honorable
identify the
Shibambo.
people who are objecting to our motion?
Honorable Shibambo, can you take your seat? Honorable members, this point that the honorable members of the EFF are rising on about the identification, I responded and made. Honorable Low, can you please take a seat?
On a point of
Honorable Low, can you please take your seat?
But
I'm
I rise on a
addressing.
point of order.
I have not recognized you.
After then, you're going to recognize.
Can you take your
Thank you.
seat? Honorable members, members of the EFF have continuously raised a point on which I have already ruled. I have said there is no requirement in rules that a member who objects to a motion must identify themselves. I further said if any member would want a new rule or a procedure to be defined as such, should raise it in an appropriate forum. And that closes the matter. And can we please proceed with if there are any further motions? Because I will not again take this one. Honorable Maxine, are you rising on a further motion? Honorable Maxine?
Yes.
Okay, can you?
Thank you, Chair,
ahead.
but we are the public figures here. We must do things in public. I rise on behalf of EFF to move without notice that this House notes that the head of Parliamentary Protection Service, Zelda Holtzman, and head deputy Motlate Mohale have been suspended by Parliament for defying to implement the nonsensical security plan, which is aimed at brutalizing members of the EFF. Further note that they have been suspended for objecting to unprocedural employment of security personnel from the SAPS, whose aim is to brutalize the EFF. We as EFF, we call on the parliamentary and that the Parliamentary Oversight Authority should be urgently convened to reinstate them. I so move.
Order, honorable members. I'm informed that Honorable Maxine, your motion was not circulated, as is the rule.
Madam Chair, it's an urgent motion because of the nature of the seriousness of this matter that is taking place here. We can't fold our hands if the Parliament is victimizing our workers here. We must protect them.
I will advise Honorable Maxine that the motion be submitted accordingly. Honorable Tabasha.
Thank you, Chairperson. On behalf of the Chief Whip of the Majority Party, I move without notice that the House notes with sadness the tragic death of the ANC Regional Chairperson for the Musadladla region and Deputy Mayor of Utungulu District Municipality, Tulan Mashaba, in a car accident on Thursday, the 9th July 2015. Further notes that the two bodyguards he was traveling with from King Shaka Airport to Richards Bay were injured and hospitalized. Recognizes that Mashaba was a young, energetic leader with immense potential and an objective to serve the people with distinction and dignity. Believes that his untimely passing has robbed the ANC and the entire country of a dedicated leader who had a clear vision of taking the movement and the citizens of this country forward. Recognizing that his tragic death is a blow to the Utungulu municipality and its surrounding areas, given the strategic position he occupied as a deputy mayor, and extend heartfelt condolences to the Mashaba family, his colleagues and friends, and wish a speedy recovery to the two injured protectors. I so move.
Honorable member.
I hereby object to
Thank
the
you very
motion
much.
raised by the
There
honorable
being an
member.
objection, the motion falls
Because
away.
this is about internal
Order,
squabbles
honorable
within
member.
the ruling party.
The motion falls away. Are there any further Motions without notice. Honorable Singh. Order, honorable members. Can we allow Honorable Singh to move a motion?
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members. On behalf of the IFP, I move without notice that the House, 1, notes that the Honorable Member A.M. Mponchane has tendered his resignation from Parliament with effect from tomorrow, Friday, 31st July 2015, due to inter alia ill health. Secondly, extends its sincere gratitude and appreciation to Mr. Alfred Mkipeni Mponchane for his dedicated and diligent service to this Parliament and South Africa over the last 19 years. Thirdly, acknowledges that Mr. Mponchane MP is a consummate gentleman and leader in his chosen specialization of basic and higher education, and is highly respected in the circles of both politics and academia. Further acknowledges that Mr. Mponchane ably served on the portfolio committees of basic and higher education, water and sanitation, and state security during his busy tenure at Parliament. Notes that through his exemplary conduct, leadership skills, and high work ethic, he very capably held the position of Deputy Chief Whip of the IFP. And finally, thanks Honorable Mponchane for his loyalty, dedication, and support for this Parliament in the interest of building a better South Africa for all. So,
honorable members, when members retire from Parliament, it is customary that we provide an opportunity to say farewell. In this instance, it has not been possible for us to arrange such an opportunity. I've been approached to allow parties who wish to do so an opportunity to say a few words of farewell to Honorable Mponchane. I now recognize the parties. The Democratic Alliance.
Thanks, Madam Chair. On behalf of the DA Whippery and the Democratic Alliance, I'd like to thank Honourable Mponchane for his extended years of service to the House and to the people of South Africa. I'd further like to say that when he is back home in his Zululand constituency, if he ever misses us too much, he can always turn on Channel 408 and understand and remember why he left. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other party that wishes to give EFF?
Now, as the EFF want to say farewell to Honorable Mponchane, he is an honorable member. He is one of the few who deserve to be called an honorable member. He is respectful, he engages with issues, was not petty, was always consistent in whatever he stood for, and he's not ashamed of what he stands for. He's an honorable member. We wish him well in the future, in his life, his family, and in his health, that he must grow stronger and contribute further to the political discourse of South Africa, wherever he's going to be doing such. Farewell, Mponchane.
The ACDP.
Thank you. The ACDP would like to wish our colleague, Honourable Mponchane, everything of the best as he dares to find out, in the words of the late Honourable Ambrosini, whether indeed there is life after Parliament and what it will be. We will be praying for your speedy recovery and good health and happiness in whatever you choose to do going forward. We appreciate you and all you have contributed through your work at Parliament and more broadly as a leader in our nation. I'm sad to have to say farewell to a colleague and friend of 16 plus years, another reminder of how the years have flown while we've been focused on the issues of nation building and achieving a better life for the people of South Africa. I will always remember the time we spent in the year 2000 as members of the parliamentary delegation to Zimbabwe to oversee the elections, the work we did in 2007 as part of the Education Portfolio Committee on the study tour to China, and of course many oversight trips over the years with committee meetings of the Education Portfolio Committee. We really should have taken more time to have coffee though. Go well, my friend. I pray God will bless you and keep you and give you the desires of your heart.
The UDM.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. There's time to come, there's time to go. Honorable Mpojane has seen both through the time. It was a time of transition. It was a time when South Africa needed men of his stature. He was able to withstand it all and is leaving this house with a clean bill of performance. And we salute him and the party from which he comes, the party that had the confidence to assign him the responsibility of coming to Parliament to pay his dues to the country that is needy of such people. The UDM would like to be on record as having said that we appreciate so much the wonderful work, your steadfastness throughout the testing time. Fare thee well, my friend.
The NFP.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. The NFP would like to say farewell to the Honorable Mpojane. He has been a passionate scholar, passionate teacher, former school principal and former inspector of schools. I remember quite vividly when we were still lecturers, he would come for inspection but would be tempted by the board and the chalk, and he would find himself getting into the lecture hall to teach. He has been a scholar indeed and has contributed a lot, especially in education. He's a very passionate educationist. We want to hope that as he rests, he will find time to rest with his family, but also go to St. Lucia and do a bit of fishing, because he has been in the hustle and bustle of politics. We wish you all the best, sir. Thank you very much.
The ANC.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I rise on behalf of the African National Congress to wish the Honorable Mpojane well on his retirement from Parliament. It's indeed a pleasure to wish such a member well. The Honorable Member will be recalled in this House as having fully understood and executed his role as a representative of the people. I recall him as a very active whip and a member of the Education Committee from 1994, 96, I think, was it? From his service in Parliament. Though his concerns often went too often toward UniZul and Mangosuthu Technikon, I do believe he will be remembered in this House as Mr. Nisfas. He has been a true representative of the people, exercising his parliamentary duty with due regard to upholding the rules of Parliament and respecting the rights of all members. I think I'm correct in that I don't recall him insulting any person in this House in his 16 years of service. And yet he posed challenging questions to the executive and contributed to a wide range of parliamentary work, overseeing and supporting many policy initiatives from the government of Mr. Mandela through to Mr. Mbeki up to the current government of Mr. Zuma. He supported initiatives and played a role in their coming into life, such as the initiatives undertaken by the ANC-led government of national unity and subsequently by the ANC government. He leaves Parliament having been part of crafting a democratic national constitution. He leaves Parliament having been part of introducing 10 years of compulsory education for all children of our country for the first time in our history. He leaves Parliament having been part of expanding access to higher education through the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, which today provides R9 billion to needy, talented young people of our country. And he leaves Parliament having supported thousands of other changes
that have fundamentally altered the character of our society and the lives of our people. So when you are asked, Honorable Mponchane, what have you done? You have a long list of honor, and we wish you well in your retirement. If there are no objections, hello? Honorable Singh?
Honorable Chairperson, I would crave your indulgence that Honorable Mponchane responds.
Honorable Mponchane?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, honorable members. Honorable Mponchane.
Chairperson, naturally, I'm a very shy person. More so when it concerns my retirement. But I'm humbled by the messages of support and appreciation today. I wish to take this opportunity to thank my leader, Prince Pangosut Buthelezi, and my party for having afforded me this opportunity to serve my nation in my capacity as a member of parliament in this august house. I further wish to thank all my colleagues on both sides of the house, for I have made many special friendships and bonds which will last a lifetime. I also extend my appreciation to the Speaker and other presiding officers and the staff of Parliament at large. As I depart here today, after having served for almost 20 years, I feel a lump in my throat. As I say goodbye to each one of you today, be assured that my life's work of serving our people will continue. Biblically speaking, my spirit is willing, but my body is now weak, which is the reason I'm retiring. But you see, I'm already on a retirement, colleagues, as I've already traded my suit for old man's coat, as you can see. Goodbye, everybody.
Order, honorable members, can we take our seats? If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections agreed to. Honorable Mponchane, the presiding officers also wish to take this opportunity to wish you well in your retirement. And we hope you'll continue to have a moment to pursue the work that this parliament is executing even in your retirement. As other members have said, in St. Lucia also, you'll have a lake from which to fish. We'd like to thank you for the service you have given to the people of South Africa.
Honorable members, that was the last motion without notice. This and that motion concluded. Honorable Nwaniso, that was the last motion. What is it that you are rising on? I'm sorry, we had already concluded. That was the last motion for the day. That concludes the business for the day. The House is adjourned.